Now, class ninth, we are focusing on the next topic, that is compound, and I have written the definition of compound: a pure substance composed of two or more elements combined chemically in a fixed proportion. So this is the definition for compound, and whenever it's been asked in your exam, please write down this definition only. Now, what does it means? How you can say that it has been composed of two or more elements and it is being combined chemically in a fixed proportion. So I am just taking one example, and this example is very common to you, that is water, right? So water is a compound, we know it, right? So this particular water is composes of two elements. What are the two elements? By looking it, you can tell me, ma'am. Hydrogen and other is oxygen. So these are the two, you can say, elements, right? So what is the first point? That is clear, that it is a compound because it is composed of two elements, and we have written the two elements. Now this point is that this particular or these particular elements combine in a fixed proportions. Now what does it mean by fixed proportion? Basically they are composed of by weights in a fixed proportion. We can see that when we form a compound for water, that water, its atomic number is 1, and its outermost orbit contains one electron. H electronic configuration is 1. If you see oxygen, its electronic configuration 2 comma 6. So this way we know its electronic configuration. So I made the structure for oxygen, and I'm hydrogen, and I'm making the structure for oxygen also. Just see, let's focus on the outermost orbit. This is like this: 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 electrons, and then again we have one more atom of hydrogen, that is this thing. So these are the cases where you see that these particular atoms are there, and these three atoms are there. Now the point is that these are the elements that were present. It's not the case we have in this particular example we have two atoms, but we can have in other examples we can have more than you can say two atoms. We'll see that also, we'll focus on that. But our point is that they are combining together in a fixed proportion by weights. So what happened, we can draw the structure in this is the initial stage. We can make a structure in this manner also. Now what we are doing, we are just simply adding the other hydrogen atom over here. In place of making it in this manner, we can draw in this manner. Both the electrons are there. You know that this is a particular example where the electrons are shared. And for hydrogen, you can write down over here, two atoms are there. Please make it in the same manner so that both the atoms should look like that they are of same atom. So this way, the point is that we can make it in this manner, that they are always combining together in a chemically in a fixed proportion. Even though you can understand that these have the water have the point is that whatever the properties of water are there, they are entirely different to that of the water of this constituent. Now please see that it's a compound, that is water. You know that water is have a very different properties or characteristics. The water is a liquid, but if you compare its elements like hydrogen and oxygen, their properties are very different. How? You can see that hydrogen over here, it's a gas, and oxygen is also a gas. So this is the common difference which I am telling you. There are other differences also, because you don't know the other differences. That's why I just want to clear you with the basic difference of how these particular elements are different from their particular compounds. So this much is clear to you. Now we have certain important you can say characteristics for compound also, and we'll see that. But before that, I was just want to give you one more example for it. Let's see if we go for magnesium carbonate. Now over here you can see what are the different elements over here. Magnesium is there, you have carbon element is there, you have oxygen also, right? So this is a compound because it is made up of two or more elements. Over here, how many elements are there? Three elements are there, right? They are also combining together with the fixed proportions. And magnesium compound has a very different you can say properties when you compare it with individual magnesium or carbon or oxygen, right? So these things you have to keep it in mind, that why the compounds are or different examples are there in the compounds. Now we'll focus on the next point, the characteristics of compound. What are the characteristics? The very first point is that compound has a definite proportion. Now we'll focus on this thing, that why it is having a compound is having a, I'm writing the keywords, you can write down the full sentence. The compound present in a definite proportion. Now what does it means? That if I consider an example, say I am taking iron to sulfide. Now there are two particular elements over here. One is your iron and other is your sulfur, right? So these particular two elements combine together in a definite way. There is a proper proportion over here. If you see the formula of this thing, one atom of Fe is combining with one atom of sulfur. So these are the two elements, and how they are combining, they are combining in a fixed proportion, and we have written the formula also. In this you can see one atom of Fe is combining with one atom of sulfur, right? Now the next thing is that homogeneous. They are homogeneous. You must have heard about this word, what is homogeneous. Now what is the case, like let's kabhi you, I don't think so you have seen this particular compound, but you have seen salt, the common salt which you are using at your home, that is NaCl. I'm just giving you an example, you can take any of the example. Now you know, if we see the first point in it, it has a definite proportion, elements are there, sodium is there and Cl is been there. Now why we are saying homogeneous? You have seen the homogeneous, you have seen salt in your home. Can you identify which part is of sodium and which part of chlorine? When these two particular elements combine together, they become homogeneous, they become same. You cannot identify in that particular salt which is Na or which is Cl, right? So this case is for homogeneous. Then we can also say the particles in a compound are of one kind. ठीक है. So you, again I am focusing on this example, iron to sulfide I am saying. Now the you can see this particular compound, that or instead of this, if you want to focus on it, we'll focus both the things. When over here if you see that this particular compounds cannot be, you cannot separate them, you know, may not be seen separately. If you see the compound, it look like a one compound, you cannot see where is iron and where is sulfur. So that is the one of the case. Composition cannot be varied, and it's always a uniform composition, right? Over here also, this thing you have seen in an example, that in your house, that the components, when you see salt, you cannot see the components what, Na and Cl are the components, you cannot see them separately, and they seems to be a uniform composition, right? This is the case of this point, that why the compounds, in the compounds the particles are of one kind. All the particular whatever the molecules were there in that particular compound is same. Now we'll focus on the two other factors also. Now we are focusing on the other property also for or characteristics of compound, that is definite set of properties. We have already seen that in the previous examples, that whatever the components are there, they have a very different properties comparison to the compound, right? If you see once again with the water point, so In water, what are the components over here? Hydrogen is a component and oxygen is a component. The I've already mentioned you one of the case of differentiating it with the compound, like hydrogen and oxygen both are gases, but if you see water, it's a liquid. And this is one of the also one factor which you can differentiate them. So you can see that initially these are gases, and now the compound that is formed is a it's not a it's basically changed itself to a liquid state, and initially it forms a gaseous state, but you condense it, it forms the liquid, right? So these things are one thing, and their characteristics are also very different, that it burns with a pop sound, it's a colorless gas, it's also a colorless gas, it's so these things are there. And we have seen the other characteristics also for the compound. The components in a compound do not retain their original properties and cannot be separated. What does it mean? Initially, if you see that the whatever the property for hydrogen or oxygen were there you know that each and every components or element shows different physical and the chemical properties. So it seems to be that there whatever the properties were there for hydrogen and oxygen, now when they are in the combined state with and forms the water, this particular properties for water is entirely different, right? And second thing is that you cannot separate these particular components from each other, but still there is a method is been there by chemical means. In water you cannot be able to understand easily. Let's see with the this part, like iron and iron sulfide, which we have seen this example, Fe. Now I am taking this example, iron 2 sulfide FeS. Now you know that iron is attracted towards magnet, right? This way we always separate iron from the other elements or other compounds. But over here when you will bring magnet towards iron sulfide, this iron will not be attracted by the magnet, right? And even it will not if you want to give reaction with iron sulfide with the with any acid, it will not react, right? Now why this is happening? Fine. So because this is one of the case, like sulfur that is present in this. So we have seen that iron can be separated by means of magnet or by magnetic separation. Over here that theory is not applicable. Second thing is that sulfur is soluble in solvents, carbon sulfide. So solvent carbon sulfide is this. So basically sulfur is soluble in in this solvent, that is carbon sulfide, but in this case sulfur is insoluble. So this is the case where you cannot separate these two things, right? So this thing is very important, that these were the simple methods where you used to separate iron and if the compound containing sulfur. So we have completed all the characteristics of compounds, and we'll focus on the other topic now. Now we are focusing on the next topic, that is chemical equation. And you know in your from your previous classes, the chemical equations are the shorthand form for a chemical change. You know that in labs there are different reactions are taking place. In that the reaction there is always a chemical change takes place. I think you must be knowing that what is a chemical change. That is a new substance that is formed, and it is a irreversible change, and it is a permanent change. So you have to remember that it is the reactions that are taking place, and in these reactions there is always a change takes place, a new substance are formed, you see different colors are forming, different gases are coming out. So we are not focusing on the chemical change, but the word came over here, that's why I'm telling you. So you have to note down that particular change of the reaction that is taking place. We always write it in a form of a chemical equation. So this chemical equation is a result of a chemical change, in which what happened, the reactants and the reactants reacts together, they gives you products. So we'll see with the help of an example also, because all the things are written that this chemical change arises because of the reactions which you are doing, and that particular reactions always shows certain results. There are always a new compound is being formed, or certain gases are coming out. So that portion, or it is a irreversible change was there, it is a a permanent change was there. So that particular chemical change what you are seeing in your reaction, you are writing in form of a equation, a chemical equation, and that particular chemical equation contains your reactant as well as your products. Now we have to focus what are reactants and where you can place the reactants and where you can place your this thing, your product. So I'm just focusing on it, and I just want to tell you, like in your reaction, whatever reaction is there, suppose I am taking one example of your case where you are having ammonium hydroxide and it's been reacting with HCl. This particular reaction leads to give you NH4Cl plus your water. Now you can see that this portion is your left side, right? So this is what your left hand side, and this portion is your right hand side, right? Now I'm writing with the different colors pen so that you can identify or you can understand this thing. So this left hand side portion and this is the right hand, because this is my right side or right hand, so it's my right hand side. This is my left side, so the left hand, so this is my left hand side. Now what these two particular portions related as, now one more thing you have to understand, this is the arrow, and this arrow indicates that what is the yield or represent the direction. Direction means the reaction is moving towards from this side to this side. From I just want to give you the technical terms so that you can understand. This is the reactant part and this is your product part, right? So this arrow basically indicates the yield, how the compounds are formed, what type of how much is being formed, and it also tells about the reaction, the direction of the reaction, that from which side to which side it is moving. If you see this arrow, it means it is moving from reactant part to product part. Then one more thing you have to see that, like whether it is a reactant or a product, what all things are being there. In this particular example, all these are compounds, right? So compounds are, or I have written the formula for these compounds, and this is the case, you always write a formula for a compound. But if it is a case for your element, now we'll see today that what informations our chemical equation gives, and we'll see the points in this. The first point is chemical nature of reactant and product. The next is nature of elements and radicals involved. Next point is the direction of the reaction. The direction of the reaction. And the last point is state of matter, in which the substance is present. So these are the points which we have to see. Once again I am telling you, my topic is how this chemical equation, or what information we will get from the chemical equation. The first is the chemical nature of the reactant, the product, nature of elements and radicals involved in it, the direction of the reaction, and the last is state of matter in which the substance is present. Let's focus on the first thing, chemical nature of reactant and product. Now what does it mean, the chemical nature of reactant or product? The point is that it indicates about for example, reactions contains ionic substances or covalent substances. Just now I'm just giving you the names, but still we have a big chapter on it, and in ninth, and we'll focus on that particular topic also, that what are the covalent compounds or what are the ionic compounds. So these particular reactants or the products that are present in the chemical equations, they are of different, you can say they forms different compounds, like they are made up of from by means of covalent bonding, so they are covalent bond. If they are made by electrovalent bondings, then they are electrovalent compounds. So the reactions are also like that. If they are from ionic compounds or ionic compounds are there, then reactions in ionic. If the covalent compounds are there in case of reactants or products, then the reaction is molecular reaction. So we are not going deep to it, I'm just giving you a small idea of it. Then the next case is nature of elements and radicals involved. You have seen this part, like you have different elements, some are metal, some are non-metal, some are metalloids. And radicals also, you have seen that they are they are negative radicals or positive radicals. This thing has been there. Then direction of reaction, we'll focus on it. Then in direct, now we see the direction of the reaction. This portion, these two portions, I'll explain you the last point also, state of matter in which the substance is present. These two portions I'll show you with the help of an equation or a reaction, that it will help you out to understand this thing. Now I am writing one equation, and that is Fe plus HCl. It gives you FeCl2 plus H2, right? So this particular reaction is, let's balance it. Balancing I'll teach you later on in the later part of the chapter, but just now I'm just focusing on the equation, and I just want to tell you, like, this particular portion is what the reactant part, this part is what your product part. This is what the, you can understand, this is the arrow which is indicating its direction. Like this particular reaction moves from reactant to product. So this is the reactant part, and this is the product part. So what we are seeing, that the reaction proceed from reactants towards the products, and we have seen that when two or more reactants are there, we always put a plus sign to add them. Over here the products are formed, 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, we are adding it with a plus sign. So what is there, why we were saying the direction of the reaction, this reaction proceed forward direction, means to work from reactants towards product. So this single arrow indicates what type of reaction is it, that is your irreversible reaction. Why it is irreversible? Because reactants will react together and they'll give you the product. It is not the case that product is again coming back to the reactants, but in some cases, in some reaction, you see this type of arrow is also there. So this particular arrow indicates about your reversible sign, right? So this indicates that the reaction is moving from reactant to product, and then again it is coming back from product to reactant. So this way you can see the direction of the reaction by looking the equation. We can get these information. Now the next point is, we'll discuss that also, that state of matters of your substances that are present in the reactant, or they are present in the product. Now just focus on it. It's a solid, I know it, I am writing it. So it's a solid, it's in liquid form, so I am writing it L over here. The compound that has been formed, that is always in a solid form, and this is what, a liquid. So this way you can see that, sorry, not a liquid, it is a gas. So hydrogen is a gas. So this way you can, by looking the particular equation, you can see that what is the state of matter for the substances, whether they are present in the reactant or they are present in the product. So I think this much is clear to you all, that what informations are this particular chemical equation gives us. Now we'll focus on the limitations also. Now we'll see the limitations, that what are the limitations. First is the concentration. Concentration of reactant and product. Why I am not writing the full statement, I am just telling you that by looking the chemical equation, you can never judge the concentration of the reactant and the product. Now what is the concentration? Again I am writing back the same equation. Suppose I have written the same equation, because that equation must be familiar to you all now. So what is there the case, that can you tell me that how much Fe I have used over here? What is the amount? what is the concentration, what is the concentration of HCl over here, what is the concentration of FeCl2 that is being formed over here, how much or what volume of gas is being involved over here. Nobody can judge by looking the equation. So that way I was telling, I have written the limitation that you cannot judge the concentration of reactant and product. I have written the keywords: concentration of reactants products uh, cannot be detected by the chemical equation, right? So the next point is, we can see the next point also. The next point is about the speed of the reaction. Speed of the reaction. Now I am again putting the same equation, and can you predict me that at what time this reaction had been completed when you were doing it in your lab? Nobody can judge that what time this reaction was completed, within few seconds or hours or within 1 minute. Nobody can judge. So this is also a biggest limitation of the chemical equation, that you cannot predict the speed of the reaction. Now the third point arises about the change in color occurring, right? By looking the equation, can you tell me what is the color of FeCl2, or what is the color of Fe, what is the color of HCl? Nobody can judge. So we cannot predict the colors that is being formed during the chemical equation, when especially when we are writing. When we are seeing it, then you can judge, but once you have written it, you cannot predict that what will be the color of the compounds that are present in your chemical equation. Next is the next point is completion of the reaction. Can you tell me this particular reaction, what time this reaction was completed by looking the particular chemical equation? Nobody can tell. So because it is not giving you this type of information. Now the last point is been remaining, that is the fifth point: changes in evolution of light or sound energy. Right, my page is small and I don't want to keep it in some other point, but you can see over here, change in evolution of light or sound energy. Now again I'm coming back to my same reaction. Can you predict me that any light has been involved in this reaction, or some sound has been there? Nobody can judge. But I am telling you, this is the reaction in which the hydrogen gas is being released, and hydrogen gas has a characteristic that it burns with a pop sound. Now this particular reaction, when hydrogen is being there or hydrogen is being formed, then light will, when it burns, definitely a light energy will be released, and pop sound will be, you can easily listen the pop sound, so sound energy is also there. So by looking the reaction, you cannot predict that this reaction is showing you, or there is a evolution of light energy and sound energy. So by looking the reaction, you cannot judge. But with our previous knowledge, we have seen that the hydrogen gas burns with a pop sound. So both the energies are involved in this reaction, but by looking it, you cannot judge. So these were the limitations which you have to focus, and we have completed the limitations as well as the informations what our chemical equation gives us. So we'll see the balancing of equation in our next video. So I think everything is clear to you. You can copy the notes, and please, I have written the keywords, whatever I am speaking. If you want, you can write down in proper notes forms.